United stand. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is changing everything, and it's a new season, so we're changing things up as well. I'm pleased to announce that we've got Rants on the show tonight. How you doing, pal?
Mate, I'm good, man. I'm good.
You're in a bit of trouble again. We're going to talk about that in a moment. But I don't know whether anybody's seen it, but there's a little bit of a clip from the Rants and Flex show this afternoon about Rio Ferdinand that out of context seems to be the big thing at the moment. But I'm going to start off with something totally different because I want to talk about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I did watch the Flex and Rants show today, and it actually gave me an idea for the show tonight to talk about quite a few things. I mean, we've got this bust-up between Alexis Sanchez and Greenwood. We'll touch on that. Lukaku's been gobbing off about how great the training is in Italy. Yeah, well, you know, if you'd lost a bit of weight, then you might have found the training good here as well. We're also going to talk about Daniel James and a couple of other things. But we're going to start off with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer because he is changing it up at Manchester United. And I think that in many ways, this is going to backfire on the owners and Ed Woodward because, you know, I think a normal manager, when they've not been given midfielders, would be like moaning like Mourinho a year ago, Rants. But what Solskjaer's doing is he's making the best of the situation. And you know, a month ago, we had a situation where Paul Pogba, and I know you live up Pogba's arse as much as I live up Luke Shaw's arse, so you can't lie about that. You're a big fan of Pogba, and you said when he said he wanted to go, you said you can't fault him for that. But here he is, looks like he's staying, looks like we've got a Ronaldo situation, and it looks like Solskjaer's convinced him to stay.
Yep, I'm super happy. And the thing is with Pogba, like, Pogba's my favourite player in football, innit? Like, but obviously I've said I don't fault him for wanting to go, and the thing is, a lot of the arguments and the problems that the fans have had with the owners about showing lack of intent by not investing, these are all the same reasons why I think that he would have been right to want to go. But at the same time, I think that Pogba knows deep down Manchester United is the only club for him from a commercial standpoint. Like, nobody's going to be able to bring 150, 180 million to us. Like, there's no one out there that can afford him. Also, if you go to Juventus, you're competing with the ego and the Ronaldo situation. If you go to Barca, you've got Messi. If you go to Real Madrid, you've got loads of people there as well. So I just think that, similar to De Gea, Pogba's going to end up staying because, one, there's no one else that can afford him, and two, I think that he just belongs here. Like, I genuinely do feel that.
Yeah, you know, with Pogba though, I mean, I do. Look, I know you love Pogba, and I know Flex is sort of like he doesn't love him as much as you do, and I like Pogba, but I did say at the end of the season that I felt that the relationship was a bit like a divorce. I understood why Pogba wanted to go. 3 years, it's not quite worked. We've gone full circle. We're back in the Europa League where we bought him, and also we've removed Herrera. And we've not replaced him. So Pogba's in a midfield that he wasn't even appreciated in it last year, despite what he did. It's going to be harder for him this year. I totally understood why he wanted to go. But Real Madrid's the place to go for me. I mean, you've said there, Barcelona, Messi, Ronaldo at Juventus. Real Madrid's the club he wants to go to. Zidane wants him. There's talk of a fallout at Real Madrid because he was promised Pogba. He's not going to get him. The latest from Spain today is that Real Madrid will not be getting him this summer. They might go for him next summer. I'm sure they probably will do. I think Pogba wants to go, but I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has done what Sir Alex Ferguson did, and I think Sir Alex Ferguson. I don't think Sir Alex Ferguson's a voice on Ole's shoulder. I think Sir Alex Ferguson is a voice in Ole's head from what he learnt, and I think what he's looked at this is he's just gone exactly what Sir Alex Ferguson did with Ronaldo and said, look, give me one more year, and you can go wherever you want to go next year. And I think that is why Pogba isn't kicking up a fuss, because he is a professional. He went on the tour. You compare him to Lukaku, he is a professional. And I think he's gone in a year. But I mean, some people think he could sign a new contract. He'll be here for years. I genuinely think he's gone in a year. I think he's going to give us one good year. I think he'll get his head down. He showed it against Chelsea. There's not going to be any sulking. He'll just go for it for 1 year.
I think that Pogba will sign a new deal. I genuinely do. And for the reasons that I've given you, I feel like, remember when the De Gea Madrid saga went on too long? I feel like the Madrid Pogba saga has gone on for too long. It's 2 seasons now. They've had opportunities to sign him both times. They've had the money there and they've opted to spend it on other targets. And I think there'll be voices in Pogba's ear saying, you know what? If Madrid really wanted you, they've spent 200 odd million. Why haven't they come in? The same with De Gea and the whole fax machine thing. It was, well, if they really want you, why don't they pay the money? And I think that De Gea realised that actually Real Madrid don't want me as much as they're saying they are. They wanted to unsettle De Gea and they wanted De Gea to force a move. De Gea didn't do that. And I don't think Pogba will force a move. I think that ideally Pogba would like to leave, but I don't think he would force a move. And I think that if Madrid don't come in with a serious offer next summer, I could genuinely see Pogba signing a new deal, getting more money. And even if there's a buyout clause in there or something, or there's a gentleman's agreement, I do see him signing another contract. I genuinely do.
I suppose there's two factors to that, though, isn't it? Because you got Mino Raiola, who is just a greedy man, and he will be like, I don't care if you go to Real Madrid or Man United, I'll get a new contract, means a load of money for me. And then the second thing is from a Pogba point of view, it's what Evra said. You know, Evra made a lot of people reacted badly to it, but I think Evra was right. He said, you know, at Juventus, Pogba was loved. He isn't loved at Manchester United, and I think I said this as somebody who. I get frustrated with Pogba. I think he's a fantastic talent. I think he's one of the few players who can play. Well, I saw it on Sunday. His position, his heat map, is a right defensive midfielder. But we know what he was doing. Yeah. He was barging forward to play Daniel James in. He's all over the park. He's a fantastic player on his day. It's getting that consistency. And maybe Mourinho was too pragmatic for him, and Van Gaal... well, he never played under Van Gaal. Mourinho was probably too pragmatic for him, and Oli wants to play on the front foot. And I think a full season would be good. I think I love Pogba to sign a new contract, you know. But the positives for me are, even if he is going to give us another year, that gives us time, and it also gives us time to play on him. Because if this season goes well, and we do build something, he might go, well, you know what, I'll have some of this.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing right now is Oli's man management is looking very promising. Like, I've heard that Axel Tuanzebe's been told that he's third choice centre back, and
it looks like he is, doesn't it?
Yeah, and also Smalling and Jones weren't in the squad, so I think that Oli's playing this one very well, and I wouldn't be surprised if he sat down with Paul and he said to him, "Listen, like, just give us everything this year, and then we'll see where we are at the end of the season." Like, I honestly think that if things are going well, and it looks like we can bring in more players, and Pogba starts to buy into what Oli's doing, I think there's a possibility of him staying past next season. I genuinely do.
I'm loving what I'm hearing from the club, and I know we're on a positivity streak because of the Chelsea game, and I'm a realist, and I want to talk about some of the things that concern me from Sunday in a moment. But even today, you know, there's a lot of bollocks, there's a lot of nonsense that comes out of the club. But you know, even today, Nemanja Matic, his contract is up at the end of the year. We've got an option for another year. There's talk that we'll just let him go. James Garner, I think he's only just turned 18. There's talk that his agent is dropping other academy graduates because he wants to focus on Ghana, and he's been told he's going to be a part of this United team. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has flipped. A lot of people wanted to compare him to Mourinho, because Mourinho last summer, I thought quite rightly, was negative because he didn't get the money spent on him, and he's got a big ego. Ole's decided to do it another way. He's gone, well, look, the fans aren't stupid. They know I've not been backed. I don't need to tell them that. What I'm going to do is, I ain't going to use it as a reason to... I'm not going to let it breed negativity. I'm going to go into every game positive. I'm going to tell these players to run their socks off with this shirt. I'm going to give the youth a chance. I'm going to drop Matic. I'm going to drop Jones and Smalling. I'm going to do everything I can to make this club what it is, and make these fans understand that I want to do what they want to do. And I might not have the resources that a Man City or Liverpool have got, but he's taken control when the Glazers and Woodward probably think they're in control. I think Solskjaer's grabbed this club, and he is actually in control now.
Yeah, Solskjaer's unified the fan base. I'm telling you, if Solskjaer does this for the whole season and we finish sixth, I'll still be buzzing, because I can actually see, like, it feels like we're getting our club back slowly, because the Glazers have definitely put a massive downer on the situation, and I feel like Ollie's bringing the spirit back. The whole United DNA, we make fun that he talks about it a lot, but it feels like he's re-injecting it back into the club now. And I feel like also when you look at the Carrick and McKenna being brought in, Jose, they got rid of him, them two are still there. And it feels like these guys were placed there almost above Jose's head. Because for me, when Faria left, it didn't make any sense. Like, he's been with Jose for 16 years, and then all of a sudden, these two have come in. Jose hasn't brought in anyone else, and then these guys are now next to Oli. It almost seems like a decision was made above Mourinho's head to put these guys in here, and we've actually got a project now. And it is exciting, man. I'm not getting ahead of myself. I don't expect us to finish in the top four, but we finished fifth or sixth, and we play the football we're playing, and Oli keeps selecting the teams that he's selecting, and we see Tuanzebe and we see Greenwood, and we see Gomez, and we see all these guys, I'm going to be over the moon.
Exactly. It's Aaron 10C says Mark, Greenwood and Sanchez. We'll talk about that in a moment. Johan says Zidane sacks Jose in. Jose does not like Pogba, so Pogba stays. It's a good point. And Graham Alfonso says, I really feel sorry for Dalot, to be honest. Rotten luck that he's in a team that has the best... has the beast that is Wan-Bissaka. He never put a foot wrong the whole of last season, Dalot. I'll tell you what, though, that leads into a great point, because I know you're not a fan of Luke Shaw, and everyone knows I'm a fan of Luke Shaw. But the thing that... The tactical thing, if I've got to find a problem with the performance on Sunday, and there was a lot of problems, the midfield did get overrun for a lot of the game, but the issue is Wan-Bissaka can do two people's jobs. He's an unbelievably brilliant defender, but on that performance on Sunday, you cannot play like that all season, because Wan-Bissaka will not be unbeatable when he's got two players against him. And he had a lot of two players against him, and Luke Shaw had a lot of two players against him, but Wan-Bissaka's a better defender than Luke Shaw, and that's why Mourinho came out with this, Maguire's going to have to cover Luke Shaw a lot. The reason Luke Shaw was exploited a lot is because our wide players are wandering and interchanging a lot, and that's why Azpilicueta was going down one side and Emerson down the other. That's why Emerson hit the post. That was Wan-Bissaka's side. If Emerson had scored that goal, I wouldn't have blamed Wan-Bissaka. Some idiots might have done. It's whoever is meant to be on the right side, Pereira or Lingard. That is something that I would defend Shaw. I thought Shaw did okay on Sunday, but I think United really did leave the width to Chelsea. And over the season, Dalot will play games, because Wan-Bissaka's fantastic, but he's 21 years of age. He'll be burnt out by October if he's going to have to do two people's work like he did on Sunday.
I would play Dalot right wing ahead of Wan-Bissaka, in all honesty, because I feel like Andreas doesn't have the pace and the physicality to play the way that Oli wants us to play. I felt like he was the weak link, if anything. Like, technically, he's a very good player. I rate him highly, but I'm not quite sure that his attributes kind of fit into what we're trying to do. Like, I'm not quite sure.
Probably the worst player on the pitch on Sunday, wasn't he, to be fair?
Yeah.
In a good performance.
I'm not quite sure, but the cross for Martial's goal was very good. But Dalot on the counter-attack, his pace is ridiculous, man. He's very good technically. He's good in one-on-one situations, and he gives you that defensive cover going back the other way. So I feel like he could be an option for right wing. I see what you say about Luke Shaw. Yes, he was exposed because Marcus Rashford wasn't coming back the other way as much. But at the same time, the only issue for me with Shaw is, if you're not going to be as defensively good as Wan-Bissaka, going forward, you need to be as productive as a Robertson or a Trent, because if you're not getting assists and you're not defending well, then you're just in that bracket where you're not actually doing anything for me. Like, I would sacrifice Luke Shaw getting caught out if he was providing assists at the other end.
I can't argue with that. I said this last night on the show. I said there's something in Luke Shaw's head when he gets into the final third. He just switches off. And the reality is, I've seen him cross. And the reality is, he is quick. He can drive into the box. But he just runs out of ideas in the final third. Apart from that, I think he is still a very, very good left-back. And I don't think he's as big a problem as people think he is. And, we'll wait and see how the season goes. But I do agree with you on Dalot. I think he wasn't... He didn't make... I thought he was unlucky not to make the bench on Sunday, to be fair. But I think that's a legacy of putting people like Matic on there who shouldn't be on there. But look, I like Dalot. I think he will play a lot of football this season, because what a lot of people are forgetting is we don't have great squad depth. We've got to play Europa League. We're going to get injuries, so those players will get games. It's the centre backs we don't want to get injuries, because we don't want to see Jones and Smalling. But look, this news about this story that was in the Sun today, and it wasn't from Neil Custis is the only person in the Sun that I would ever take note of, so it wasn't written by him, so it's probably a total load of nonsense. But it was to do with a bust-up between Alexis Sanchez and Mason Greenwood, which, look, if it has happened, I mean, comment on it, Rance, if you want to. I mean, my point is that if it has happened, it just probably displays a frustration from Sanchez. But my concern is next Monday, less than a week away, we play Wolves. He will have had another week of training. He'll be match fit in a week. Does he come onto the bench? We've been saying what great things Ollie's done with his team selection, but wouldn't surprise me if it's in a 400,000 best paid player in the Premier League, We all know these FIFA
Yeah.
little clauses about I'm a crucial first team player. They're not in FIFA because they made them up. It's because it happens in real life. I would imagine Sanchez has got it in his contract that he at least is on the bench when he's fit.
I don't know if this bust up thing is real. It could well be, but then also it could have just been blown out of proportion because footballers have bust ups in training. Do you know what I mean? Even at Sunday league level, like we've been in situations that even when our team have a game when players are just winding each other up and that, and people have little fallings out, like it happens, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
and newspapers will sensationalize it and make it sound like they had a punch up. They didn't. If anything, they had a disagreement. If it happened, if it was something malicious on Sanchez's part, you know that Oli will protect Mason and Sanchez will be out on loan. If the rumours that we're hearing that Roma, etc., are interested in Sanchez, if there's any way that he's disrupting like the development of the young players or anything, he'll be out on his ass. I'm sure of that because Oli seems like that kind of manager. So,
well, that's what he was doing at Arsenal. That's what he was doing
exactly.
at Arsenal.
Well, then he'll get thrown out. It's that simple. So I'm not really worried about the situation. Oli will handle it like he handled the Lukaku situation. He handled the Lingard situation in LA. Like, I trust Oli to handle it if that's what happened. And if that did really happen, I don't expect to see Sanchez on the bench.
Do you think Sanchez has got a role at United, considering the two spots he would have to remove? Well, we're not talking. I don't think in the first team he's got a role. So on the bench, it's Daniel James and Mason Greenwood at the moment. Would you want one of those to be dislodged for Sanchez? Do you really believe that he can offer us something?
I wouldn't want to dislodge one of them, but I do believe that Alexis can offer something in one of the attacking roles, whether it's down the middle or on the right-hand side. I don't want to see him on the left. And if he's honest with himself and he wants to get minutes, he can only think about that right-hand side. Because for me, the right-hand side of the attack is the only position out of the 11 that's still got a question mark on it. No one's actually stamped their authority on that position. The left is Marcus's, up front is Tony's, he's got his 9 back. So that's the only position that he could realistically think about getting in. So if he doesn't make that position his own, there's not really room for a 400 grand a week substitute. So I could see him going out on loan if Oli doesn't plan to use him.
Young Salah says, respect Sanchez and give him a chance. I think he will be given a chance. I just don't think he should just be automatically dropped into the team. I think he might have to wait for it like most people do. Ryan FTW says, I'd take Andreas at centre attacking midfielder over Jesse all day long. I mean, look, and Young Salah's just said that Jesse's the best attacking midfielder in the team. Yeah, I was impressed with Lingard at the weekend, to be honest, Rance. I think you said it in your fan cam, actually, and it's spot on. If Martial hadn't got the goal, I think a lot of people would have said Martial had a bad game. He didn't. He was I mean, look, the Pogba goal, the Daniel James goal, the 4th goal, the best bit of play in that was Martial's pass back to Pogba. It was, and he did that all day. He ran. He got involved. He was running into spaces to create spaces for other people. And that 4th goal was a combination of, if you want to be an attacker, don't just think about putting the ball in the back of the net. He runs right to the touchline to take the ball off Pogba, to create the space, to knock it back to Pogba, to run in. The intelligence of that from Martial, and he's probably been taught it from Solskjaer as well, was just amazing. Yeah. But it just gets forgotten. And I think Lingard did a lot of that as well.
Lingard, for me, out of the obvious, was our best player. Like, when we were getting overrun by Chelsea in the first 20, 25 minutes, it's because Lingard was on the right and Andreas was down the middle. So I don't agree with Andreas an attacking midfielder ahead of Lingard. Andreas is an attacking midfielder, but in the Premier League, against the team with mobile players that retain the ball well, Andreas's pressing is not good enough. Like, it's not good enough, which is why Jesse came in and he gave us that mobility. So for me, if you're playing Jesse Lingard, you play him in that position in the centre. And at the moment, there's no one at the club that's better than him in that position, because I wouldn't play Mata in there ahead of him because you lose the legs. And the same goes for Andreas. I think that Jesse has to play in that position now until we get like a top player. And Bruno would have been that guy, but we didn't get him.
Yeah, and I think most United fans have realised this now. It's this there is that element of making do. I think that even the performance on Sunday was a bit of a sit back and hit a better footballing team on the break, and it worked for us. I don't think until probably next summer we're going to change that. I think United fans need to realise that we're going to go into a lot of games as the underdog because the midfield is weak. You know, McTominay's not the finished article. Pereira may never be. Lingard is inconsistent. We know that. So, there are weak spots in that team. You've got to take the positives and hope that the consistency does come along. But one of the positives, of course, and you were talking about it today, was... if people haven't seen it, right, Harry Maguire, Flex and Rance are talking about Harry Maguire, and then there's a little clip where Rance is talking about Rio Ferdinand and saying he's not a leader. And of course, somebody took that as a little clip and put it out on social media, and the normal haters are like, oh, look at this bloody idiot, don't know anything about United. I watched it, to be fair, and even on the short clip, I was like, yeah, but he's clearly not having a dig at Rio. He's just basically saying that Rio with Vidic was a far better leader than he would be with Gary Cahill. And you were comparing that leadership quality to Harry Maguire, who in his very first game for Manchester United puts in a leadership performance, and then after the game he's putting in quotes like, I was shouting on the pitch telling everyone at 3 and 4-0 that we've got to get a clean sheet and start building a fortress. Rio Ferdinand was a leader, but I think what you were trying to say is Harry Maguire is just... he's not as good as Rio as a footballer, but he has got that natural leadership that Rio didn't walk in with that. He learnt it here.
But that's what I've been trying to say. And the thing is, context is everything, because there's different types of leaders in football. Rio wasn't a vocal leader like a Tony Adams, a Nemanja Vidic, a John Terry. He was a leader in the sense, like, I think that Pogba's a leader, because Pogba doesn't go hiding in games. Like, he's not vocal, but even when we need a goal, Pogba will always want the ball. He'll try and win the game on his own. That's a leadership quality, but it's not a vocal leadership quality. What I was doing was I was comparing Harry Maguire's leadership qualities with that of John Terry's and that of Nemanja Vidic's. Do you know what I'm saying? That's all it was in terms of vocal leader, organizer. He'll put his head where strikers don't want to put their boots. That's the kind of player he is. Whereas Rio is a Rolls Royce kind of centre-back, and for me, the best centre-back in the Premier League era. But he's stylistically very similar to a Victor Lindelof, who Victor's an amazing footballer on the ground, stylistically, not very vocal, but if he's not playing next to a Smalling who likes to attack the ball, like, he can't play his normal game. It's just like, if Rio wasn't playing with a centre-back that attacks the ball and is more aggressive and stuff like that, when you're a ball-playing centre-half, your frailties will start to show, because the ugly side of the game, especially in England, it does exist. And that's why partnerships are very important. You see what I mean? It's hard to be a ball-playing centre-back like a Lindelof, step out from the back, pass the ball, and do all of these things when you're with an Eric Bailly who's not good in the air either. He's not physical. Like, you need a balance. And for me, the reason why people said that John Terry was better than Rio, which I don't agree with, was because John Terry had the intangibles. He was a natural-born leader. Like, he would raise the game of the people around him. He'd get the crowd up. He would throw his head in where people wouldn't put their boots. He'd get his shorts dirty. Do you know what I mean? And there's different types of leadership. That's why when you think of a John Terry, you think of a Rio Ferdinand, you think of a Tony Adams. If you said to any football fan, Rio Ferdinand, 3 words, no one would probably say leader. Whereas when you think of a Tony Adams or John Terry, I guarantee you ask them 3 words and they'll say leader. And that's what I meant. I wasn't saying that Rio's not a leader and Rio's not a good player. That was me saying that when you think about Ferdinand, you think of his footballing ability first. That's it.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think look, Rio, if we'd had Rio over the last 6 years, he would be the best leader on the pitch, because we haven't had a leader. And he did have leadership qualities, but there's levels to leadership. And, Ryan Giggs as a captain would be very good in this team because we haven't got one, but he's nowhere near the captain Roy Keane is. And it's just levels, isn't it? That's what it is. And I think in Harry Maguire, I knew we were getting that with Harry Maguire anyway, but I think a lot of people did. But it's abundantly clear in his first game how impressive he is. And I love the way he spoke after the game. Anyway, Imrano TV says, Mark, please make Rance apologise to me. He gave me belief we would sign a midfielder and I cried. And Cal Rojo says, to be fair to Sanchez, I could do with someone to walk my dog. You up for that? They like long walks and a bit of chili dog. Let's talk about Lukaku for a moment. There was a clip on Twitter today. Lukaku scored 4 goals in his first game for Inter Milan. To say the opposition were a pub team would be an understatement. And to be honest with you, Stevie Wonder would have scored those 4 goals. They're all in the 6-yard box. But he's also come out with a comment about I mean, he's only been training for a couple of days. He said it's a lot of work training in England, but it's real work in Italy. I mean, he's just a very bitter man. I mean, I don't know what you think about it, Rance, because my feeling with Lukaku is that he is trying to make out to the world that he's got his dream move, and I'm just very relaxed about it because basically you're being kicked out, mate. You're on the bench. You're on the bench from the start under Ollie, and he doesn't want a brick wall as his trampoline touch, whatever, Sainsbury's car park. He didn't want that. He was happy for you to sit on the bench. You thought you were that better than that. You've moaned your way out of the club, but you're not. It's not like we're crying that you've gone. You've gone, and he's still being bitter about it.
Yeah, but you know what it is with Lukaku? He strikes me as a very insecure player, innit? And I think that his ego's been hurt. Because all stuff like leaking stats and all these other things, if you're so confident in your ability, like, why do you need to do this? Why do you need to do these kind of things? Like, you don't need to do these things. So he's trying to make it look like he's so happy and he's moved to a better place. But the reality is, you were crap under Jose, and Jose kept playing you so you could play your way into form to the point where even Jose vouched you, dropped you, and then you couldn't get back in the side. Do you know what I mean? That's what happened. Like, you weren't forced out. You simply came and you flopped. That's exactly what happened. But to save face, he's coming on and he's just showing his true colours. He's showing his true colours, and actually, he's been very disrespectful in how he's managed the whole situation. And he will go down as a flop. And we'll forget about Lukaku in 2 or 3 years because he hasn't made an impact at the club. So, in all honesty, the joke's on him. He's going to go to Italy. He's probably going to score because the league isn't really that great. And he was playing against a bunch of guys that looked like ran his favourite restaurant or something. It was a joke. They weren't even wearing shin pads. I wouldn't even call that a football match. So
it was like something we filmed when we were playing United Stand FC, to be honest. I half expected to see Chase and Rich running around against him, to be honest. It was that sort of a game.
But it was worse than that because they had shin pads on. Like, it literally looked like a training match. That's what it looked like. And he'll go to Italy and he'll fizzle out. And in 5 years' time, nobody will remember that he played for Manchester United. Like, we actually don't care. He's the least of our worries. I think I speak for the majority of the fan base when I say that he won't be missed.
Well, we've just sold a 70 million striker, and no one's really that bothered that we've replaced him. We're still talking about midfielders. Praveen says, "Do you think that United haven't bought a midfielder to put pressure on Pogba to stay?" No, I think that's to do with the incompetence of the board, to be honest with you. And Metal Music Review says Lukaku's was United's Kool-Aid to Jugman. Oh yeah. Lukaku is a snake, just like Di Maria, and Graham, I'm going to stop you there and say I don't think he's a snake. I actually do agree with Rance. I think he probably is very insecure and he doesn't like the fact that he's flopped at United. And there's like leadership. There's levels to flops. There's people like Beppe and Kleberson and Jemba levels of flops, and to call Lukaku a flop because when he scored as many goals as he did is a little bit unfair, but ultimately he is a flop because the manager's come in and wants rid of him. It's like Fellaini. He's come in and got rid of him. That ruthlessness is great, and I think Ollie is totally right to get rid of him. I've totally forgotten something that I was meant to mention, so I'm going to mention it right now. We put a video up this morning, and a lot of you might have seen it, a lot of you haven't. We had an event in London last week. Very, very good meetup. Really, really good. Our second meetup is in Birmingham on October the 25th, and it's the biggest thing we've ever done because it's the United Stand evening with Ryan Giggs. Yes, Ryan Giggs, the legend. Now, the link is in the video description. The tickets are going very fast, so if you want to be there, it is literally the same as what we did on Thursday. It's a United Stand meetup, but we've got Ryan Giggs. It's an evening with Ryan Giggs. He will be on stage answering questions. There's all different packages you can do. You can have photos and everything like that. The link is in the video description. The tickets are going fast, but for anybody who was there on Thursday night, it was absolutely fantastic. And we're doing it again in October, so get moving quick. And it is the real Ryan Giggs. It's not Ryan Giggs. He's got his name and he's from bloody Dublin, and he rolls up and it's not the real one. This is the real Ryan Giggs. It's going to be a fantastic night. Link is in the video description. I know people flew in from LA, Budapest, Norway. Yep. On Thursday night, so I'm sure people will be doing it again. It's in Birmingham, so we're gradually moving. I think you know where we're going to be next, Manchester, but we're working our way up from London, Birmingham, so get in there. The link in the video description. Can't wait. It's going to be really exciting, and of course Ryan Giggs is going to be there, which is United legend biggest legend of our lifetime, probably, for what he's won. Going to be a fantastic night. So link in the video description for that. Did you talk about Matic, Mark? Says Abbas. Yeah, we spoke about him. Get rid of him. And Giggs is the greatest, says SL Jones. And Mark, I think Ollie is trying to get rid of the epitome of bad football at the club. Fellaini, Lukaku, and the next ones will be Smalling, Rojo, Jones, Matic and Young. And that's from Mohamed Salou Mansari rants. And I think, we were just talking there. He came in, he barely sat down, he got rid of Fellaini. That, to me, just bought him 3 years of grace. Then he's got rid of Lukaku, which is, I think, what both of we would have done. Then, in his first game of the season, he's not picked Young, which was probably obvious because he was going to play Wan-Bissaka. But what you were saying there about Twansebi being the third choice centre-back, he clearly is. Jones and Smalling and Rojo aren't injured, and they weren't even on the bloody bench. So, it looks like he is clearing house gradually. Matic, you would have put money on him starting, even though none of us would have done. He didn't. And a massive game. It wasn't bloody Brighton at home, it's Chelsea. And he doesn't play Matic. So, I think there's a lot to be said in that, and it's very exciting that he probably is clearing house.
Absolutely, that's what I said. I said before, because even though Chelsea are not the force of old, Chelsea are going to finish in the top 6. So you have to look at these decisions that he's made. It's the first game of the season. It's at home. You're thinking 3 points against someone that's going to be there or thereabouts around us is crucial. And Ollie put a lot of trust in Axel, in Tony, in bringing Daniel James on, in not playing Matic, not playing Massa. That's a big that's a major backing from the manager. There's no other way to look at it. It's not like as you said, we're playing a Brighton at home or a Norwich or something like that. This is Chelsea Football Club. Whether they've got the star-studded names of old or whatever, it's still a massive statement of intent from Ollie, and I think that the players will take a lot of confidence from that. I think the fans can take a lot of confidence from that, and it seems that Ollie's in control, regardless. I think that he's shown where his head is. He's shown where he wants to go, and whether it takes 2 years, it takes 3 years, I think the direction is clear. And my main problem with this club in the last 6 years is we didn't know where we were going. Under David Moyes, we didn't know where we were going. He spent so long trying to get Leighton Baines and that, then we ended up playing over the odds for Fellaini, and then we got Matic, Mata in January, and then the whole Mourinho thing. Are we going to buy young? Are we getting old players? All the players that were bought, it didn't make any sense. Under LBG, we had this possession-style football, but then you bring in an Angel Di Maria who doesn't really suit, and then a Falcao. It was all haphazard. I think under Ollie, at least we've got a clear direction of, the manager wants us to play this way. These are the kind of players that fit the profile. And I'm 100% behind it. I'm excited. I think in the next couple of windows, if Ollie goes out and buys 2 central midfielders and a right winger, I'm going into the following season saying, you know what, we can challenge for the top 3.
I think that's what pisses me off as well, though, because there is so much positivity, and I think with any positivity, you look at what could have been, and I think about, Ollie's first season basically is this summer and Europa League. That's whatever he did last year, that was caretaker. This is his first jump at it, and Mourinho came in Europa League and got Pogba, Bailly, Mkhitaryan, Zlatan around 150 million quid, and that was 3 years ago. So inflation probably pushes that up to about 180 million. Ollie's just been given about 66 when you take off Lukaku. Yeah. That's less than 100. That's 100 million less than Mourinho got. That's what he's up against, and I use it as a positive, but that's what he's up against. He hasn't been given anywhere near what Mourinho and Van Gaal got, and yet he's doing all these positive things. And you know what? Let's get behind the players, let's get behind the manager, but let's not forget he's doing it yet again with 2 arms behind his back, because people said Mourinho had 1 arm behind his back, 2 arms behind his back. He's not had the money Mourinho's got. Mourinho can sit there on Sunday all smug about his compact football and this is what I would do, and Maguire's going to have a busy season. You screwed it up, mate, and you had a lot more money than Ollie's had. You've got no right to talk about what Ollie's up to. Adam Morris says, if Sanchez can get fit, where do you think he fits in this season, Rance?
Right-hand side. Right-hand side is the only place he fits in. And as I said, because it's so fluid, you look at Marcus Rashford's second goal, he made a run from right down the middle, and Martial was out on the left. And when you look at the link up for the Pogba assist to James, Martial was on the left wing. So I think that our attacking players are going to drift. So even if Sanchez starts on the right, it just means he starts on the right. I don't think he'll finish there. I think in transition it's very fluid. So I just believe that's the only spot that's up for grabs. I think the 9 and the 10, Tony and Rashford, that if they're fit, they're going to start.
Yeah, good. I'll do this one. Havas Mohammed says, I think you guys should appreciate Rom and Sanchez more. PSG and City away, two of our greatest nights post Fergie, would not be possible without them. Lukaku's goals in Paris, Martial could have scored. There was nothing special about them. Jermaine Decray says, Ollie has been the first manager to get rid of the prior manager players. Van Gaal kept Moyes players. Jose kept both Van Gaal and Moyes players. Ollie's already clearing house. I agree with you, Jermaine. We're just talking about that. I totally agree with you. And Hashtika says, if we had a great January transfer window where we sorted out the midfield, would you forgive Woodward and the Glazers for the summer transfer window? Well, I'm going to ask you that, Rance, because we've been asked this a lot. We were asked about it on Thursday, and I think it was a little bit fresh for me. I was like, I don't want to talk about January because we've had 3 months to sort the midfield out and they failed. So I was like, I'm not talking about January. It's irrelevant. But do you think they'll do anything in January?
No, and I wouldn't necessarily want them to unless the right deal came. Do you know what I mean? Like when you look at like Christian Eriksen, he's got a year left. If he ends up staying at Spurs past the window and his contract's running down, I wouldn't be against putting in a cheeky 40 million bid for Eriksen with 3 or 4 months left in his contract. But other than that, if it's not a player that already plays in this league that we can get a good deal for, I think in January you don't really get good business. Like people know you're desperate and you just end up paying over the odds for players, man. So honestly, from what happened in January, I mean, in the summer, I know for a fact that we were trying to get certain deals done. A lot of players were open to coming to the club, but for extortionate wages. And I think the policy now at the club is to go back to United's old model of buying young, up-and-coming players that are enthusiastic about playing for the club and are not going to be on 400 grand a week like Alexis Sanchez, or Zlatan was on 370 as well. Like, I think we're trying to get away from that Di Maria Falcao model of buying players that are going to be on a lot of money and are not proven. So I think that we'll wait till the summer. I think the club will be targeting players like Longstaff, like Maddison, like Sancho. I think those are the kind of players we're going to start to see come in. I don't think there's going to be any more of the Falcao, like the Gareth Bale-esque signings. I think those are done now.
I think well, we both know. I mean, we were talking about this in February, I think, about Sancho. That is what this season's about, really. I think if United can come out of it with Champions League football, they'll probably get him because I think he's more than open to coming to Manchester United.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a lot hinges on this season, but I think going forward, that is going to be the profile of player, unless like an Eriksen just becomes available and it just suits us, because I think he improves us massively. Like I would say we'd finish in the top 4 guaranteed if we had him starting the season. That's how big an impact I think he would have. But unless it's a special case like an Eriksen, you're going to see the likes of the Longstaffs, the Maddisons and that. That's the kind of players I expect us to be looking at.
Zayn Masai says, Mark, would you swap Sanchez for Mkhitaryan? We would like him back. No. To be honest, I would rather just have the cash for both. I don't really want either of them. Pretty similar to Rance, they just don't fit into the model that we're trying to build either. And Gordon Murray says, think Solskjaer wasn't given same amount of money due to his lack of experience managing at the top, unlike Mourinho and Van Gaal. That's from Gordon Murray. Yeah, I do. To be honest, I think the board are playing Ollie. I think that they see him as a bit of a schmuck, that they can just he's so in love with the club, we're not going to give him the money. And I think that's true in a way. But it might backfire on them because if things don't go the right way, every fan I speak to says, I ain't going in on Ollie. I'm not going to go in on Ollie. I'm going in on the board. So they've left themselves in an open situation whereby it's very obvious that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, whatever he achieves, I said if he gets 4th place, he deserves a statue because it's not a 4th place squad. It isn't. That's why everyone's saying we're 5th and 6th. He's doing it with 2 arms behind his back because of the board. They haven't invested in him, but it's obvious, and we will certainly keep talking about it as well. And on the January transfer window, just to come back to what Rance was saying there, the thing about January is you're over halfway through the season anyway, so it's very, very difficult to get players in. But something might be possible. I think it's got to be a certain sort of player. It's got to be a player that's probably not in Europe because his team won't let him go, and probably not in a title race or a relegation fight because his team won't let him go. Therefore, I would say that the one player that United really wanted was Sean Longstaff, and I quite like the look of that John McGinn from what I've seen. I ridiculed it in the summer, but I do. If he has a good 4 or 5 months in the Premier League under Villa, I think he's got that. He's got that thing that I used to see when I was watching football in like the early 90s, where teams used to go and buy we did it. United did it. Roy Keane took him from Forest to United. They saw that hunger and fight in him. Not many players are like that these days, and I really hope he has a good season because I'd like him at United. Yeah,
he's definitely that kind of... And I think Kieran Tierney's like that as well. And I think that's why Arsenal fans are going to love him, because Arsenal haven't really had a gritty, like, British style footballer in a while. Like, you have to go way back, do you know what I mean, until to when the end of George Graham / start of Arsene Wenger, when they had that English grit, like British grit about them. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, he's Irish, and that Irish grit. Like, they haven't had a player like that. Arsenal's always been pretty, and it's been nice, but they haven't really had someone that's going to fight for the badge and really, like, run their socks off. And Tierney reminds me of that. And it's always nice to have them kind of players in the team. I think Daniel James reminds me of that. Like, when you see him smiling, like, he looks like he's happy to be here. And literally, as long as he's got air in his lungs, he'll run himself into the ground for the club. And I think it's always nice to have that balance of flair, invention, but also like that ethic as well. So, players like him as well, I think that you're going to see at the club. I think that the recruitment process is going to completely change now.
Joaquin Hengson says Sanchez in central midfield. He's a mix between Lingard and Mata when he's at his best. Got a new member. Welcome to J Dizzle 134. Ian Singh says try inviting Woodward instead of Giggs. You will win a lot of hearts and subscribers. Mark, can't afford him. Zane Meister says Mark, would you swap Pogba for Ericsson? Never. And Chloe Jenkins says, do you think United have ruined Darmian's career? Came in and established international, started well, then dropped, now 30 years. To be honest with you, Darmian's got to go this summer, but do I care whether we've ruined his career or not? No, he's sort of insignificant, but you know what? United may well have kept him beyond what we should. I can't believe he's still here. He should have gone 2 years ago. Brandon B says, would Trent Alexander-Arnold be as good or effective if he was in a more defensive team like Crystal Palace, Brighton, etc.? Also, aren't Smalling, Jones and Mata safety net contract extension, says Brandon B. Imrano TV says, do you both think there is any way Pogba could be convinced to sign and stay past next summer if we had a great season? Well, Rance has already said that he thinks that that's a possibility. I personally think he'll be here for a year. And Anouk Malupan says, Mark, humble request, when you interview Giggs, we fans would love some of our questions to be put forward too. Could you collect questions? It will improve the show. I can't say too much about that, but it probably is going to happen. Just to say there, in relation to what Rance is saying about Tierney, what you've got to remember as well is Harry Maguire, we've spoken about his leadership qualities. Wan-Bissaka is a fighter. Daniel James, Rance has mentioned that. We brought 3 players in there that have got a mentality that we probably are lacking. Rashford wants to do that. I think Lingard wants to do that. Martial's learning that. Pogba's never going to do that, but that's okay. McTominay wants to do that. Lindelof wants to do that. Luke Shaw, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. De Gea wants to do that. So gradually we're getting that mentality in the team as well, Rance.
Yeah, the togetherness is something that has been touched upon. And I saw Jesse Lingard actually liked a tweet from someone on Twitter. And they must have had like a couple hundred followers. So it was just something that Jesse came across. And they were highlighting the togetherness, like the fight of just the team in general. And you could see, like, when Dan James scored the goal, how everyone ran over to him. There seems to be that togetherness, that hunger and that grit that the team hasn't had for a very long time. And I think that Solskjaer deserves 100% credit for that as well, because Martial ran himself into the ground and he would have never done that before. So that's definitely been coached into him. Ollie's put his arm around him and said, listen, you're my number 9, but these are the requirements. And Martial's taken that on board. And I think that the manager has everything to do with the attitude of the team.
Enoch Bentil says, Mark, do you think Bailly would do well in a defensive midfield role? No, he's not a midfielder. He's too bloody clumsy. He's not that. He's a centre back. That's what he is. But just on that as well, I mean, look, what I've liked about the last few days is the positivity. Nobody's blinkered. Like, you get all the rivals on Twitter saying it's only one game. Look, we know it's only one game, and we know we might lose against Wolves, but what I don't think will happen, unless we get annihilated 9-0, I think if we do lose against Wolves, a lot of people will just be frustrated and go, it's because we didn't invest in the midfield. It's because this. It's because he's picked Matic. We're not like those Arsenal fans, those prats in the hats who go, oh, you're the best thing since sliced bread. Then they lose a game and they want to kill their families, and then they win a game and they want to suck them off, and then they lose a game and they're going to go, it's that's flip flop. I think United fans want to be positive, but obviously when it's staring it in the face, you've got to be real as well. So I think I'm hoping, and I can't even guarantee it myself, Rance, but I'm hoping that this season, even when it does go bad, I am going to just cling on to that thing that, Ollie is trying his best with what he's got, and there is a lot of good things. But, there's no guarantees. If we lose 4 games in a row and we start becoming the spineless side we were last year, then people are going to flip again. But at the moment, there's just so much positivity.
You know what it is? I said I'm going to manage my expectations throughout the season. The only way that I start looking at Ollie sideways is if things start to go badly and he doesn't stick to his guns. If Ollie bottles it and then all of a sudden we've had a couple results we shouldn't have had, and then he brings Matic back and brings Mata back and stops believing in what he's trying to do, then I'll stop believing in him. But if he continues to believe in what he's trying to do and he sticks to his guns, even when it's not going well, and he continues to play these young guys, then he's got my complete backing, man. I'll back him until he stops backing himself, basically.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there. It is about not praying Matic again. It is. I said this in my match reaction at the weekend. Look, maybe Pereira didn't play that well. I don't think McTominay played amazing. I think Pogba was the standout midfielder.
He didn't.
But I would play all 3 for the next 5 games, because that's how they're going to get better. If he reverts to Matic and Mata, then again he's going to leave himself open to criticism. Zayn Maisay says, Mark, would you take Rooney back? God, no. Rooney was done. Rooney was done at United. He probably can play very well for Derby, but all these people saying he can still play in the Premier League. He was shit at Everton. He's done at the Premier League. Legend of the game. Legend of Manchester United.
I don't think he's good enough for the Championship. I don't think Rooney's good enough for the Championship.
I don't think people realise how shit the MLS is.
Yeah, like the MLS is not even Conference South level, like outside of. That's why they have these marquee guys. They're not good. Like the MLS is a joke, man. Like it makes the SPL look like the Premier League, like literally. So there's a reason why people go there to retire. Like Wayne Rooney, like the pace of the Championship is going to kill him. Like that Premier League, people don't understand. There's a reason why people go down and you never see them again. Like the Championship is one of the hardest leagues in the world. It might even be the hardest league in the world on paper because it's very hard to get out of. Wayne Rooney will play a big role at Derby. He probably won't start games and he'll make 20-minute cameos. If Wayne Rooney's playing week in, week out in the Championship, I think that he's doing himself a disservice, man. He's a club legend. Like he needs to go out like on top, because I felt like we were carrying him for a few years and then he went to Everton and he looked done. So for me, if I was Wayne Rooney, I would have stayed in America, retired and come back as a coach. I don't have high hopes for him as a footballer in the Championship, but I think that as a coach, you never know, man. Hopefully he hands up his boots soon.
Harold Holst, first fault, says Zidane quits before the end of the season and Pogba will stay. Well, there's another side to that coin. Zidane wants Pogba because he loves Pogba, but Pogba was quite inconsistent last year. If Pogba has an amazing season for United, it won't just be Zidane who wants him. So, Anoop Ayupan says, Mark, is there anyone who can get in on loan or free for improving our midfield? That's still possible, and will it help us in the short term? I don't think we've got plans to do that. Vagabond Reaper says, where's Ollie? At the wheel, probably. And the Iron Singh AFTV called us Banter FC post Newcastle match. Mate, look, they're talking about United stand because they want to be relevant. That's what they want to be. I've already bloody got a big bet on going with Robbie. But what happens with people like you know who on AFTV is they start mouthing off but then their brain's running way too slow with their mouth. And they're like, how do I fill this air and be controversial? I know, let's talk about the one thing I'm obsessed about more than anything, Manchester United, and that's what they do. Yep. People think we're obsessed about Arsenal. It's just, a lot of it's just a big wind-up because they're a joke of a club. Like I said on Twitter today, the big club argument is over if you've not won a European Cup. Forget about it. And Aston Villa and Forest have won European Cups. Arsenal and City haven't.
Yes.
Mark, you have a great channel. Keep it up. Zanguna, Zayn missed it. Sorry, mate.
We actually don't care about them. The funny thing is, like, on our behalf, it's actually banter. Like, but with them, like, there's a certain bitterness. I keep telling people, like, when you look at the Premier League era, we were responsible for so much heartbreak in these Arsenal fans that any opportunity they can have to try and get one up on us, they're going to do that, because there's a lot of bitterness that comes with seeing the United badge. And that's just how it is. So, like, let them continue, man. But the pressure's on them this season. They can't complain about their manager anymore because that's been sorted. They can't complain about lack of spending because that hasn't happened. Yeah. So now, if they don't finish in the top 4, like, they're out of excuses, mate. So, like, we'll just wait and see how this unfolds. But judging from all the previous times we've seen this film, it never ends well for them.
Jay Dizzle says, love the show, keep it growing, United top 4. Hope so, mate. I mean, just talking about that, the times we've heartbreak them. Ryan Giggs in Birmingham, bare-chested. I loved it. And that's a nice lead into what I'm going to say. Link in the video description. If you've not heard, United Stand is hosting an evening with Ryan Giggs in Birmingham in October. The link's in the video description. The tickets are going quick. People are moaning about the price of the tickets, but it's a legend. It's a Manchester United legend. We're hosting a night with a Manchester United legend. He's going to be sat there on the stage with us. You can get your photos and everything like that. It's a bit pricey if you want to get a table for 10, but you don't have to get a table for 10 if you don't want to do it. Links in the video description. Yep. It's our next United Stand event. It's the biggest thing we've ever done. It's absolutely amazing. Manchester United legend. So get down there. Yep. Look, as I've said, you can have a picture with the United legend, Rance, and Ryan Giggs. You know, it's dead easy. So I'll be there. Flex will be there. Get yourself down. It's going to be exactly the same as the Thursday night one, which was brilliant. But there's going to be a legend there as well. So link in the video description. Get your tickets while they're going quick. In fact, I need to get a couple more for family and friends. So I better get on after this. But what we got? Aid says, finally seems that there is actual progress being made. And if we keep it up, Ollie gets the packing he needs. We will definitely be title contenders in the future. I hope so. Advice for getting tickets to a match from the USA, says Ibrahim Fafuna. Oh, fuck knows, mate. God knows. These days, it's just... A lot of the time, it's knowing somebody who's got a spare ticket. It's very, very hard. But they do, to be fair, just get into contact with Manchester United ticket office, because certain games, if you're trying to watch a Liverpool game, you're going to struggle. But if you're trying to watch Brighton or something, you might get a chance. Anyway, Rance, we've been talking about this all summer. We want to do a regular show. So whether it's going to be a Tuesday or not, I don't know. But really enjoyed that. And I think everybody else has done it as well. So please smash a like on the video. And thanks for coming on, mate.
No, absolutely. Yeah, we'll get it sorted.
And Flex and Rant show is 1 o'clock on a Tuesday, so if you've not watched that from lunchtime, do give it a watch. Really good stuff on there. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Tuesday night, loads of people are still tuning into the channel, which is absolutely fantastic. And as I said, the Ryan Giggs night, it's a United Stand event. We're arranging this, so please do support it. Get involved. Link in the video description. And look, even if you just want to get a picture with one of us guys and you don't really care for Giggs, he is a United legend, but you know, we are United Standers. Links in the video description. Get on it quick because they're going fast. It's only went up this morning at 7 a.m. Speak to you all soon. Thanks for coming on, Rants.
No problem. Cheers, Matt.
Cheers, everyone.